chord progressions are described in terms of the major scale, and so is chord construction for that matter. When you talk about how chords are made, you're talking about the intervals of the major scale. So you have to know exactly what a major scale is in order to speak this language. So I'm going to review that for those of you who already know it and introduce those of you who don't know it to what is a major scale. You know, it's made up of 8 notes. For example, C major scale is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And you all know what a major scale sounds like, but recognize that the first note is the same as the 8th note. The C on the bottom and the C at the top are the same, but they're an octave apart, as we say. So most of the notes in the major scale are 2 frets, which means a whole step apart. For example, looking at the guitar fingerboard now, looking at a C major scale. Here's a C note, and the second note in the scale, D, is 2 frets up. And the third one is 2 frets up. But between the third and the fourth notes in the C major scale, there's only 1 fret. Then 4 to 5 is a whole step, 2 frets. 5 to 6, another whole step. 6 to 7, but then 7 to 8, and we're winding up at a higher C note. That's another half step. That's another 1 fret jump. And no matter which scale it is, whether it's a C scale or D or C sharp or whatever, those are the way the spaces work in the scale. It's always all whole steps except between the 3 and the 4 is a half step. Between the 7 and the 8 is a half step. Now that's an arbitrary convention, but that's what makes it sound like a major scale. There's other scales, blues scales and diminished scales and so on. But the spaces between the notes is what defines a scale, and this particular set of spacing, that's what makes a major scale. Now you would never play a major scale on the guitar, probably seldom would play it just by walking up 1 string like that. I'm just showing you that to show you how the intervals work in the major scale. Now you'll describe chords according to those intervals. For example, in the key of C, the first note in the C major scale is C, so you'd call the C chord the 1 chord. If there was a D in a song that was in the key of C, you'd call it a 2 chord, because D is the second note in the C major scale. It might be a D 7th or a D minor or a D 7th with a sharp 9 and a flat 5, but it's still, D is the root of it, so it's still a 2 chord if you're in the key of C. So that's how the major scale works, and just starting to give you an inkling about how we describe chords. But in order to really get into this and play some stuff on the guitar, you're going to also have to know one other piece of theory, and that's what the notes are on the 6th strings and the 5th strings. Now the reason for that is that if you play movable chords, you know, like the barred E type of chord or the barred A type of chord, if you play movable chords when you're learning a tune, it kind of highlights what the chord progression is. It makes it easier to see what intervals are happening and what spacing is happening. That information gets kind of hidden when you play down here and play first position chords. So if you're like me, if you're a person who's not overly fond of barred chords and are not terrific at playing barred chords, you can still follow along with me by playing just simplified versions of them. For example, instead of playing this chord here, this barred E, which is this is a G chord, you can just play the top 2 or 3 notes of it, or I should say the bottom 2 or 3 notes. And if you don't like to play this barred A type of chord, this is a C at the 3rd fret, you can do this or this and just get the couple of the root note and 1 or 2 of the other notes. And you can follow along that way. But you need to know the notes on the 6th string and on the 5th string, because that's where the roots of these chords are. Let me show you what I mean. If this chord shape here is like a E with a bar behind it. Here's your E, and then if you move that up a fret and put a bar behind it, of course, you probably know this is your F chord. This is your full F chord. So what you've got is an E chord moved up a fret with this root note behind it. This is the note that gives that chord its name. If you moved it up a fret, you'd have what? F sharp. It could also be called G flat. If you moved it up here, where you've got a G note on the 6th string, that would be a G chord, and so on. By the way, you probably know that when you play an E down here, if you open up the 3rd string, it becomes E minor. So Likewise, these barred E type of chords are all minor chords if you do the same thing. Here's your F, open up the third string, it's F minor. Move it up here where the root is G, it's G minor. And that goes for wherever you place the chord. You probably also know that this E becomes an E7 if you open up the fourth string. So if you bar it, it's still a seventh chord. Now it's an F7 where the root is the F note. If we play it way up at the 8th fret, where there's a C note on the 6th string, now we have a C7. So those are all 6th string root chords, and you can now play minor chords or 7th chords all up and down the neck, just so long as you know what the notes are on this 6th string. What are they? F, G, A at the 5th fret, B at the 7th fret. That's why these little dots are so handy. C at the 8th fret, D at the 10th, and E again at the 12th, and then it starts over. If you have a cutaway guitar, you can get even higher. Now let's look at the 5th string. This A chord has a 5th string root. The 5th string is the note that gives the chord its name. If you put a bar behind it, you'd have an A sharp or a B flat. Some people play it like this. I play it like this and just don't play the 1st string. However you do it, you're moving this shape up a fret. But the 5th string is still the root, so if I move it here where this is a B note, now we've got a B chord and a C chord and so on. Now, likewise, just with the E chord, you could change it around. You can change this around. The A can change to an A minor, and then that can become movable. Here's an A sharp or B flat minor, and there's a B minor, and so on. You probably also know that this A can change to an A7 by opening up the 3rd string. So here's a B flat or an A sharp 7, and a B7, and a C7. And that's a 5th string root shape that can change into minors or 7ths. And if you know the notes on the 5th string, now you can play major, minor, or 7th chords all over the neck of the guitar. Here's the B, the C. At the 5th fret, there's a D, an E, and an F, a G at the 10th fret, and an A again at the 12th fret. So now you've got 2 kinds of chords, 6th string root chords and 5th string root chords. And before we go any further, just take a minute and make sure that you know the notes up and down the 5th and 6th strings, so that if I say this is a B flat, you'll know that we're going to go either here or here. Or if I say this is a D, you know we're going to go either here or here.